Most people are waiting for something before they begin, waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for someone to tell them they are ready, but the truth is, readiness rarely arrives before action. It is built through action. And if you look closely at the lives of people who achieve remarkable things, you will not find a secret talent, a magical morning, or an extraordinary amount of discipline. What you will find is something far quieter and far more powerful. You will find a routine, not an exciting routine. Not an impressive routine, a simple one, a consistent one, a repeatable one, because success is not the result of one great moment. It is the result of one small decision made again and again and again, even when it is boring, even when it is uncomfortable, even when no one is watching. That is what makes a routine unstoppable. But before we talk about alarms, schedules, calendars, or habits, we must talk about something deeper. Because the problem is not that people don't know what to do. The world is full of information, books, videos, courses, tips, tricks. We are surrounded by advice. The real problem is that most people never ask themselves a very simple question. Why am I doing this? If you don't know why you are waking up early, you won't stay out of bed. If you don't know why you are working, you won't give your best. If you don't know why your routine matters, you will break it the moment it becomes inconvenient. A powerful routine is not built around tasks. It is built around meaning. When the alarm goes off in the dark, when your body is heavy and your mind is full of excuses, it is not the habit that pulls you up. It is the reason, it is the picture in your mind of who you are becoming. It is the life you are trying to build. It is the people you want to make proud. It is the promise you made to yourself. If your routine is only about productivity, you will quit. If your routine is connected to your purpose, you will persist. And purpose does not have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be about changing the world. Sometimes purpose is simply about becoming a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. That alone is powerful enough to build a life on. Now here is where most people go wrong. They believe that to change their life, they must change everything at once. They must wake up at 5 a.m., work out for an hour, read 50 pages, meditate for 30 minutes, journal, plan their day, drink green juice, listen to a podcast, and somehow become a brand person by Friday. And when they fail to maintain that pace, as every human eventually would, they conclude that they lack discipline. But the truth is not that they lack discipline. They lack strategy, because an unstoppable routine is not based on intensity. It is based on consistency, small, simple, sustainable. 10 minutes a day will change your life if you do it for 10 years. One decision repeated daily is more powerful than one dramatic burst of motivation. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And if your system is built on perfection, it will collapse the moment life becomes messy. And life will always become messy. There will always be a bad night, a hard day, an unexpected problem, a moment of doubt, a period of exhaustion. The unstoppable routine is not the one that survives the perfect days. It is the one that survives the imperfect ones. That's why the true foundation of an unstoppable routine is not what you do when you feel good. It is what you do when you feel like doing nothing at all. It is the decision to show up anyway, not to be perfect, just to be present, because the person who wins in the long run is not the one who has the best plan. It is the one who keeps going when the plan falls apart. But let's go even deeper. A routine is not just about productivity. A routine is about identity. Every time you follow your routine, you are voting for the person you believe you are. When you read instead of scrolling, you are telling yourself, I am someone who invests in my mind. When you train instead of skipping, you are telling yourself, I am someone who respects my body. When you plan instead of guessing, you are telling yourself, I am someone who lives intentionally. This is not about what you do. This is about who you become, and that is why a routine is powerful. Because in a chaotic world where so much is out of your control, your routine becomes the one place where you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. And self-trust changes everything. It changes how you speak. It changes how you walk. It changes the opportunities you believe you deserve. It changes the standards you accept from others. People who trust themselves don't need constant motivation. They don't wait for someone to push them. They have built an internal relationship of respect. They keep promises to themselves, and that makes them unstoppable. But there is something else that separates those who build powerful routines and those who quit: the environment. Most people think the battle is inside their mind, but the truth is, the battle is often on their desk, in their room, on their phone, in their kitchen. You cannot build a strong routine in a weak environment. If your phone is the first thing you see in the morning, you are designing your own distraction. If junk food is within arm's reach, you are designing your own weakness. If comfort is always close by, you are designing your own excuses. An unstoppable routine is supported by an intentional environment. The book is placed where the phone used to be. The shoes are placed where laziness used to live. The notes are placed where doubt used to sit. You don't rise to the level of your willpower. You fall to the level of your surroundings. And the unstoppable person understands that discipline is not just emotional. It is structural. You make the right decision easier and the wrong decision harder, and slowly, without heroic effort, your life begins to change direction. But let us be honest, even with purpose, even with identity, even with a supportive environment, there will be days when it feels pointless. Days when the results are invisible, days when nothing seems to be changing, days when you question if it is even worth it. This is the moment most people walk away. They say, "It's not working," simply because they cannot see progress. But growth is quiet. Roots form underground before the tree ever appears. Strength builds inside long before it is visible on the outside. Confidence develops in the dark, in the loneliness of repetition. An unstoppable routine is not about quick results. It is about long-term alignment. You are not working for the version of you that exists today. You are working for the version of you that will exist 5 years from now. And that person is depending on the decisions you make in moments that feel completely meaningless right now. That is the invisible power of routine. And so, an unstoppable routine is not something you find. It is something you choose. Over and over again, you choose it when it is good. You choose it when it is hard. You choose it when it is boring. You choose it when it is uncomfortable. You choose it when no one cares. You choose it when no one notices. You choose it even when you doubt yourself, because through that choosing, something incredible happens. You stop being ruled by your feelings. You stop needing external validation. You stop waiting for permission. You become the kind of person who leads their own life, and that is what an unstoppable routine really is. It is not about becoming more productive. It is not about optimizing every moment. It is not about doing more. It is about becoming more focused, more grounded, more disciplined, more intentional, more aligned with who you were always meant to be. Your routine becomes your anchor in the storm, your structure in the chaos, your proof that no matter what the world takes from you, there is still something you control. And in that control, you don't just build better days, you build a better life. Not one great decision, but thousands of small ones stacked on top of each other, day after day, quietly, steadily, powerfully. That is how you build an unstoppable routine. There is a quiet moment that happens every morning, a moment before the world has made its demands, a moment before the noise, the messages, the responsibilities, the expectations. In that moment, a simple choice presents itself. You can follow the path of comfort, or you can follow the path of commitment. You can stay as you are, or you can step toward who you said you wanted to become. Most people don't even realize that this moment is happening. They move through it on autopilot, guided by habit, by distraction, by impulse. They don't see that in that small window of time lives a decision that is shaping the entire direction of their future. That is what a routine really is. It is not a schedule, it is not a checklist, it is not a set of tasks. It is a daily decision about identity. Every choice you make inside your routine is a reflection of who is in control, the part of you that wants growth or the part of you that wants comfort. And comfort is incredibly persuasive. Comfort speaks in soft voices. It tells you that you deserve a break, that you can start tomorrow, that missing one day won't matter, that this one time doesn't count. But comfort is also the greatest thief of potential. It steals years in the form of minutes. It steals dreams in the form of excuses. It steals futures in the form of delays. That is why the greatest challenge in building an unstoppable routine is not time or knowledge or resources. It is honesty. Honesty about the version of yourself you have been tolerating, because somewhere deep inside you already know. You already know the habits that are holding you back. You already know the distractions that are eating your time. You already know the patterns that are keeping you in the same place year after year. The uncomfortable truth is that most people don't fail because the path is unclear. They fail because change demands the letting go of a familiar identity. To build an unstoppable routine, you must be willing to disappoint your old self in order to honor your future self. And that is not easy, because your old self is familiar, even in its chaos, even in its bad habits, even in its unfulfilled potential. It is comfortable. It has been with you for a long time. It feels safe, even when it is damaging. But the life you want requires a new version of you. And that version does not appear when you decide to change. It appears when you consistently act like they already exist. And that is the power of a routine. A routine is you practicing your future before it arrives. You are stepping into discipline before you feel disciplined. You are stepping into confidence before you feel confident. You are stepping into focus before it feels natural. You rehearse your greatness in the dark when no one is watching, and slowly, quietly, that performance becomes reality. But let us remove another myth. An unstoppable routine does not mean a perfect routine. In fact, perfection is the enemy of progress. The person who says, "I must do this exactly right or it doesn't count," will eventually do nothing at all. They will wait for the perfect conditions that never arrive. They will delay starting because the plan is not flawless. But the unstoppable person says, "I don't need perfect, I need consistent." They understand that success is messy, that some days will be sharp and focused, and other days will be barely held together. But they also understand something most people ignore. What you do on your worst days matters more than what you do on your best ones. Anyone can follow a routine when they feel inspired. Anyone can work hard when they feel seen. Anyone can be disciplined when the results are immediate. But the people who change their lives are the ones who continue even when it feels pointless, boring, unrewarding, and unnoticed. Because in those moments they are not training their body or their schedule, they are training their character. And character is built in the moments no one celebrates. There is something deeply human in knowing that progress is not guaranteed, that recognition may never come, that the Instagram version of your life is far more exciting than the real one, and doing the work anyway. That is courage, and courage is a routine. You wake up and you do the thing you said you would do. Not because it is exciting, but because you said you would, and you are learning day by day that your word actually means something. And when your word starts to mean something to you, it starts to mean something to the world. But let's go further. A routine is not just personal discipline, it is leadership. You may not realize it, but every time you follow your routine, someone is watching. It may be your child, it may be your friend, it may be your colleague, it may be a stranger who notices your consistency, your restraint, your standards. You may never know who is studying your behavior as evidence of what is possible, and that means your routine is not just about you. It is a signal. It tells the world what kind of person you are. It tells people what you stand for. It tells them what you value without you ever having to speak a word. When you say you are committed, your routine is the proof. When you say you are disciplined, your routine is the evidence. When you say you want more from life, your routine is the confirmation. That is why the most powerful people are not the loudest. They are the most consistent. They don't need to talk about their goals because their days already reveal them. And in a world where so many people start and stop, promise and quit, plan and delay, the person who simply continues becomes powerful beyond imagination. Consistency is rare, dependability is rare, follow-through is rare, and anything rare is valuable, but let's address something that people don't like to admit. There will be a point where everything inside you rebels against your routine. You will question it. You will resent it. You will feel trapped by it. You will feel like you are missing out on something else, something easier, something more fun. This is normal. It does not mean you are on the wrong path. It means you have reached the edge of your old identity, and the old you is fighting for survival. Your mind, which is built to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, will ask you, why are you doing this to yourself? And if your routine is not built on a strong why, you will have no answer. But if it is built on purpose, on vision, on a deeper meaning, your answer will be simple. I am becoming someone I respect. That one sentence is more powerful than any excuse your mind can create, because when your routine is about self-respect, it is no longer negotiable. You don't break it because you are tired. You don't break it because you are bored. You don't break it because no one is watching. You honor it because it is how you honor yourself, and that changes the game entirely. Now your routine is not a task. It is a relationship with your future, a relationship with your potential, a relationship with the promises you made in your quietest, most honest moments. The strongest routines are sacred in that way. They are not flexible when it comes to values, only when it comes to methods. The time may change, the location may change, the intensity may change, but the identity never does. You are still the person who shows up. You are still the person who honors their word, and that is what makes your routine unstoppable. Not its structure, not its complexity, its meaning. So if you are looking for the secret formula, the perfect template, the ideal schedule, understand this: there is no universal routine. There is only your routine, one that reflects your truth, one that respects your limits, one that challenges you just enough. One that can survive your real life, not your ideal life. Build a routine you can keep on your worst day. And then keep it. When you feel like stopping, lower the bar but do not remove it. When you feel like quitting, remember why you started. When you feel like it doesn't matter, remember the future you who is counting on today to show up. Because in the end, the unstoppable routine is not the one that makes the most progress in a day. It is the one that survives for a lifetime. And if you can build that, if you can become that person, then no external circumstance, no opinion, no obstacle, no setback can ever truly stop you. Because the strongest force you will ever encounter is not in the world outside. It is the discipline you build inside. And that is something nothing can take away. There is a version of you that already exists in the future. That version wakes up with clarity instead of confusion. That version moves with intention instead of hesitation. That version follows through instead of starting over, and the distance between who you are right now and who that version is not talent. It is not luck. It is not intelligence. It is not opportunity. It is routine, because the future you is not built by dramatic moments. It is built by the things you repeatedly do when no one is giving directions, no one is offering applause, no one is watching your effort. This is where most people misunderstand change. They believe the future arrives suddenly, that one day things will simply be different, that they will wake up more motivated, more disciplined, more confident. They believe the future is waiting for them somewhere ahead. But the truth is, the future is not waiting. The future is being built today, minute by minute, decision by decision. And the architect of that future is the routine you keep or the routine you avoid. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you are delaying that future. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are moving toward it. And the most important part is this: you do not become unstoppable by making one powerful decision once. You become unstoppable by making one powerful decision every single day. But here is what no one really prepares you for. When you commit to a routine, the world will test you, not in dramatic ways, not with loud challenges. It will test you quietly. It will offer you excuses that sound reasonable. It will offer you comfort disguised as self-care. It will offer you distractions disguised as opportunities. It will offer you rest that slowly becomes stagnation. And when you fall behind even slightly, it will whisper, "See, you were never the disciplined type anyway." That voice does not belong to reality. It belongs to the version of you that is afraid of growth, and growth, real growth, always feels uncomfortable. Because growth requires leaving behind the identity you have been protecting for so long. This is something people rarely talk about. When you start a new routine, it does not just change your actions. It starts to change your relationships. Your conversations shift, your priorities change, your standards rise, and not everyone will understand that version of you. Some will feel inspired, some will feel threatened, some will feel left behind, some will try to pull you back into who you used to be. They don't mean harm. They simply recognize that when you change, the roles they play in your life may have to change too. And change is hard, not just for you, but for the people around you. That is why an unstoppable routine requires something deeper than motivation. It requires courage, the courage to be misunderstood, the courage to say no, the courage to be alone for a while, the courage to look boring in a world addicted to instant excitement, because while others are chasing stimulation, you are building something permanent. And permanence is not exciting, it is intentional. Most people live in reaction. They respond to the world as it happens to them. Their moods, their habits, their days are controlled by what is happening outside them. But when you build an unstoppable routine, something changes. You stop reacting and start leading. You wake up and instead of asking, "What is going to happen to me today?" you ask, "Who am I going to be today?" That one shift transforms everything. It returns power to your hands. Now you are no longer a passenger in your own life. You are the driver. And that is uncomfortable at first, because being responsible for the direction of your life is far heavier than blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming the past. But it is also far more empowering, because when you take responsibility for your routine, you take responsibility for your destiny. And destiny is not something chosen for you, it is something chosen by you quietly, daily, repeatedly. But let's talk about the days that almost break you, the days when the routine feels pointless, the days when you are exhausted, the days when effort feels wasted, the days when your old life seems easier and more attractive. These are not signs that you should stop. These are signs that it is working. Because these are the moments when your old identity and your new identity are in conflict. And only one of them can survive. Most people retreat at this stage. They go back to their familiar patterns. They say, "This just isn't me." But unstoppable people understand something different. They understand that this discomfort is the gap between who they were and who they are becoming. And every time they continue through it, that gap gets smaller, until one day the routine that once felt like effort now feels like who they are. This is when discipline becomes identity. You no longer say, "I have to do this." You say, "This is just what I do. This is just how I live. This is just who I am. This is just my standard." And when something becomes your standard, it becomes effortless. Not because it is easy, but because you are no longer negotiating with yourself. Negotiation is what drains you. The inner debate, the shortcuts, the justifications, the guilt, the promises to start again tomorrow, all of that consumes more energy than the work itself. An unstoppable routine removes that debate. You don't think, you don't argue, you don't negotiate, you just act. And in that action, day after day, you free up your mind, your energy, and your identity for greater things. But an unstoppable routine is not just about what you do in the morning or what you do in the evening. It is about the standard you carry into every area of your life. You start to communicate more clearly. You start to choose better relationships. You start to say no to things that don't align. You start to respect your time, your energy, your potential. And the world begins to respond differently to you. Opportunities appear that didn't exist before. People take you more seriously. You are trusted with more responsibility, not because you demanded it, but because consistency creates credibility. And credibility is power. The world does not give power to those who ask for it. It gives power to those who prove, quietly and consistently, that they can be relied on. And your routine is your daily proof. It proves that you are dependable. It proves that you are disciplined. It proves that you are someone who follows through, and follow through is one of the rarest qualities in the modern world. Everyone has ideas, everyone has goals, everyone has intentions, but very few have consistency. So if you want to stand out in a crowded world, don't be louder. Be truer to your word. Don't be faster. Be steadier. Don't do more. Do what you said you would do every single day. That will separate you from 99% of people, but there is something even more powerful than achievement. Peace. An unstoppable routine brings peace. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you no longer live in chaos inside yourself. You are no longer fighting your own potential. You are no longer disappointed by your promises to yourself. You are no longer running from who you know you could be. You are walking toward it. And that alignment between your actions and your intentions creates a level of self-respect that no external success can provide. You sleep better, you think clearer, you trust yourself, you feel grounded, and from that place everything else in life begins to improve naturally. Not from pressure, but from alignment. So understand this clearly. An unstoppable routine is not about building a perfect day. It is about building a powerful self, one who does not need applause, one who does not need motivation, one who does not need permission, one who moves forward no matter what the conditions are. And if you are willing to build that routine slowly, imperfectly, consistently, there is nothing you cannot become. No limit you cannot cross, no identity you cannot outgrow, no future you cannot step into, not because you are special, but because you were disciplined enough to become who you were always meant to be. And the path to that person begins and continues with one simple decision: show up. Again and again and again. That is how the unstoppable are made. Most people wake up and start their day reacting. They react to alarms, they react to notifications, they react to messages, to expectations, to pressure, to stress, to fear, to urgency created by someone else. And then at the end of the day, they wonder why their life feels out of control, why they feel slow, why they feel like they're falling behind even though they were busy all day. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. You are not tired because you're doing too much. You are tired because most of what you do does not move you forward. There is no design, there is no structure, there is no intention, and that's where an unstoppable routine begins. Not with doing more, but with understanding why you're doing anything at all. An unstoppable routine doesn't start in the morning. It starts in the mind, in the quiet moments when you finally become honest enough to admit that the way you are living is not aligned with the way you want to live. It begins when you stop pretending that chaos is normal and busyness is success. The world will tell you that being overwhelmed means you're important. It will tell you that having no time means you are in demand. But the reality is that being scattered is not the same thing as being focused, and being busy is not the same thing as being effective. An unstoppable routine isn't built to impress anyone. It is built to serve your future self. It is built to protect your time, your energy, your attention, and ultimately your purpose. People often think that discipline is about forcing yourself to do hard things. They imagine routine as something rigid, something heavy, something that steals freedom. But an unstoppable routine doesn't take freedom from you, it gives it back. Because when you decide in advance who you want to be and how you intend to live, you eliminate thousands of exhausting decisions from your life. You no longer wake up asking, "What should I do?" You wake up knowing, "This is who I am and this is what I do." The strongest routines are simply repeated acts of identity. You go to the gym because you are a person who honors their body. You read because you are a person who grows. You plan because you are a person who respects their future. You rest because you are a person who understands recovery. When routine is tied to identity, it stops being a chore and starts being a statement. The problem is that most people try to change their life with motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait for inspiration. They wait for a powerful moment that makes everything click. But consistency is not built on feelings. It is built on systems. Feelings are unpredictable. Systems are reliable. And an unstoppable routine is nothing more than a personal system that runs even when you don't feel like running. That's the point. The days you feel good don't matter. The days you feel tired, unmotivated, discouraged, bored, and doubtful, those are the days that define your routine. If your routine only works when you are inspired, then it's not a routine, it's a mood. Look at the lives of people who seem unstoppable. It's not that they never fail, it's not that they're always confident, it's not that they never struggle. It's that their routine is stronger than their emotions. They don't negotiate with themselves every morning. They don't waste minutes and hours debating whether they should do the thing that moves them forward. They've already decided, and because the decision has been made once, it doesn't need to be made again every single day. That is freedom, that is power, that is what makes something unstoppable, but routine alone is not enough. Without meaning, even the strongest routine becomes a prison. You can wake up at 5 a.m. every day, work out, read, plan, and execute. But if you don't know why you are doing any of it, you will eventually burn out or quit. An unstoppable routine must be connected to something bigger than convenience, bigger than comfort, bigger than reward. It has to be connected to the version of you that does not exist yet but is waiting for you to arrive. When you tie your routine to a cause, a belief, a future vision, it stops being about today and starts becoming about destiny. You don't wake up early just to wake up early. You wake up early because there is a version of your life that requires more from you than you are currently giving. You go to work even when you hate it because you know this is not the end. This is just a stage. You write even when no one is reading because deep down you believe your voice matters. You keep going when progress is invisible because you trust that growth is happening below the surface. That is not discipline, that is belief, and belief is the most powerful fuel of all. An unstoppable routine also understands that perfection is the enemy. People fail not because they are weak, but because their expectations are unrealistic. They imagine a routine that looks beautiful on paper and impossible in real life. They want to change everything overnight. They want a perfect morning, the perfect workday, a perfect diet, a perfect body, a perfect mindset. But a routine is not built in perfection. It is built in repetition. A small action done every day beats a heroic effort done once. The bar should not be set at extraordinary. It should be set at consistent. Can you do this on your best day and your worst day? If not, it's too big. An unstoppable routine is not impressive. It is practical, it is doable, it is boring. And that is why it works. The truth is, you don't need more time, you don't need more resources, you don't need better circumstances. You need alignment between what you say matters to you and what you actually do every day. Look at your routine right now. It is a reflection of your priorities, not your intentions. If you say your health matters but there is no movement in your day, your routine reveals the truth. If you say your family matters but your phone gets more attention than the people you love, your routine is telling your real story. And that story can be changed the moment you decide that your actions will finally match your words. Building an unstoppable routine is an act of self-respect. It is how you show yourself that your dreams are not just nice ideas, but real commitments. It is how you turn potential into reality. It is not glamorous. It is not something you brag about. Most of it happens in silence when no one is watching, when there is no applause, no recognition, no visible reward. And that's the final truth. An unstoppable routine is not built for the world to see. It is built so that one day the world will see what you became because of what you did in private. Every time you choose your routine over your excuses, you become stronger. Every time you honor a commitment you made to yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, you are proving that you can be trusted by yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of an unstoppable life. When you trust yourself, you stop quitting. When you stop quitting, you start winning. And when you start winning enough days in a row, something inside you shifts. You no longer say, "I'm trying." You start saying, "This is who I am." That is the goal, not a perfect schedule, not a trendy habit, not a viral morning routine. The real goal is to become a person who is so aligned with their purpose, their values, and their actions that stopping no longer feels like an option. That is an unstoppable routine, and it is waiting for you to decide that today is the day you stop living by accident and start living by design. There is a moment every single day that quietly defines the direction of your entire life. It isn't the big presentation. It isn't the important meeting. It isn't the dramatic turning point everyone sees from the outside. It's the small, invisible moment when the alarm goes off, when the bed feels warm, when the world is still silent and your mind begins to negotiate with itself. That moment when you decide whether to get up or stay down is not just about sleep. It is about identity. It is about commitment. It is about who you are choosing to be. Most people don't realize it, but the future they will live in 5 or 10 years from now is being decided in those tiny, ordinary moments that seem completely insignificant today. We often search for something powerful to change us, a speech, a book, a mentor, a crisis, something big enough to shake us into becoming better. But the most unstoppable change is rarely loud. It is built in silence, through routine, through repetition, through a series of choices so small they look harmless in isolation. The problem is not that people are incapable of discipline. The problem is that people underestimate the power of consistency. They believe success must be dramatic, extraordinary, cinematic. But life is not a movie. Life is a process. And an unstoppable routine is not forged in passion, it is forged in practice. Most people try to build a routine by copying what they see online or in other people's lives. They imitate morning rituals, productivity hacks, complicated systems. They believe that if they arrange the same tasks in the same order, the same results will follow. But routine without alignment is just noise. You can wake up early and still waste your day. You can follow a checklist and still feel lost. The difference between a routine that exhausts you and a routine that empowers you is meaning. An unstoppable routine does not begin with "what should I do?" It begins with "why does this matter?" Because when the why is clear, the how becomes easier. When the why is forgotten, everything begins to feel pointless. An unstoppable routine is not about controlling time. It is about controlling attention. Every day, the world fights for your focus. Advertisements, notifications, calls, messages, news, opinions, expectations, all of it competes to tell you what matters. If you do not decide your priorities in advance, you will live according to whatever screams the loudest. And over time, you will realize that your life has been shaped by other people's urgencies instead of your own purpose. A strong routine is a form of protection. It creates boundaries not just around your schedule, but around your mind. It says, "This is what matters to me, and everything else is secondary." To understand this, you must first accept a difficult truth. Your current life is a direct reflection of your current habits. Not your dreams, not your intentions, not your potential, your habits. Look at how you spend your mornings, how you spend your evenings, how you respond to stress, how you treat your health, how you treat others. In those patterns, you will see the real blueprint of your future. And if that blueprint is not something you are proud of, there is no need for shame. But there is a need for change. That change does not happen in grand gestures. It happens when you decide that today you will do one thing differently than you did yesterday, and then you repeat that decision again tomorrow. People fail not because they lack strength, but because they make promises that are too big and systems that are too fragile. They want to transform overnight. They want to become a completely different person in a matter of days. And when they inevitably fail, they call themselves inconsistent, lazy, unmotivated. But the real problem was never motivation. The real problem was design. If your routine only works on your best days, it was never built to support your real life. An unstoppable routine must work on your worst days, the days you feel tired, the days you feel insecure, the days everything goes wrong. Those are the days the routine exists for, not to make life perfect, but to make sure you don't fall apart when it isn't. The most powerful routines are almost boring. They are simple. They are repeatable. They do not require inspiration. They do not change often. They become so normal that you stop thinking about them, and that is where their strength lies. Because when something becomes automatic, it no longer depends on your mood. You brush your teeth without thinking. You don't wake up and debate it, you just do it. Imagine if the habits that supported your dreams were that automatic. Imagine if progress was as natural as breathing. That is not a fantasy. That is what an unstoppable routine is supposed to create. But routine alone is not enough. There will be days when the results seem invisible. Days when you wonder if it is working at all. Days when you look around and see others advancing faster than you, earning more than you, receiving more recognition than you. In those moments, comparison becomes dangerous. It makes your own progress feel small. It makes your own journey feel slow. But growth does not happen on the surface first. It happens underground, like roots pushing through soil where no one can see. And yet, when the tree finally rises, it stands because those roots were allowed to grow in silence. An unstoppable routine is the same. You do not follow it because of what you see today. You follow it because of what you believe tomorrow can be. You will also need to understand that an unstoppable routine is an act of self-trust. Every time you do what you said you were going to do, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, that trust weakens. Most people don't fail their goals because the goals are too hard. They fail because over time, they stop believing their own words. They say they will start, then they delay. They say they will commit, then they excuse, and slowly a voice inside them stops listening. But every small act of consistency rebuilds that voice. It says, I can trust myself. I do what I say. I am becoming reliable. That internal trust is more important than any external praise. Because once you have it, you stop looking outside for validation. Your routine becomes your proof. It is also important to recognize that an unstoppable routine is not rigid. It is resilient. Life will not always cooperate. There will be unexpected events, responsibilities, failures, obstacles. An effective routine is not one that breaks in those moments. It is one that adapts without losing its essence. If you cannot do everything, you still do something. If you cannot follow the full plan, you follow a part of it. Because momentum is more important than perfection. The goal is not to be flawless. The goal is to be faithful to the process. Eventually, as days turn into weeks and weeks into months, something shifts. The effort becomes lighter, the resistance becomes quieter, the person you used to be, the one who hesitated, postponed, and doubted, starts to feel unfamiliar. In their place stands someone who acts without overthinking, who moves without waiting for permission, who understands that routine is not a cage but a bridge. A bridge between who you are now and who you are becoming. That is what makes it unstoppable, not force. Not intensity, not pressure, but identity. You no longer say, I'm trying to be disciplined. You say, this is who I am. And when a routine becomes who you are, stopping no longer makes sense. Quitting no longer aligns with your identity, and in that moment, success stops being a possibility and starts becoming an inevitability. Because in the end, an unstoppable routine is not about building a perfect schedule. It is about building a person who can be trusted with their own future. And once that person exists, nothing can truly stop them.